Welcome to a new season of Leadership Live podcast, where talented people become extraordinary leaders. I'm Daphne Horowitz, and I'm here to help you cut through the noise and talk about real leadership issues. Down to earth, solid, caring and confident leadership. No theory, no pie in the sky, no frills or fluff. Because this is what the world needs most right now. For you to lead with confidence, clarity and impact, so that you can build a business that builds people, grows profit, and makes a difference. Janet has set herself a big mission to build a 10 million rand business around her astute leadership brand, and this is what I'm coaching her on today. Janet and I have been colleagues and friends for many years, and I love her mission, her energy, and I definitely connect to her thoughts on astute leadership. We always have wonderful conversations, and this was certainly one of those. We spoke about having leadership impact, how to face the sales and marketing demon, especially when you're someone who likes to be of service and make a difference, and somehow this gets a little bit conflicted in our minds. And Janet had a wonderful realization about how our external environment can sometimes be a reflection of our inner world. Her big aha was around creating new ways to approach recurrent challenges by becoming aware of mindset. This was a coaching conversation that went deep and left Janet with even more to think about. Enjoy. Welcome, Janet. I'm so excited to have you coming on for a coaching session today on my podcast. Janet and I have known each other for many, many years, and we've come together through the years in various ways. And I'm really excited to have you here today. And we are going to dive in straight into our coaching session. So, Janet, what do you want to talk about today?
Let's talk about me getting more paying business, doing the cool work that I really want to be doing.
Okay. What is the cool work that you want to be doing? Tell me the best vision of it.
So I'm a leadership and organizational effectiveness consultant. Big words. I really love helping organizations get better at what they do.
Okay.
And doing things more effectively and more brilliantly. So that's the big picture. What we're working on right now, which I guess is a good place to start, is with a focus, is what I'm calling the Astute Leader Development Program, which is all about 21st century leadership skills. Because I really do. I think never before have we needed leaders to show up more effectively than we need them to show up right now.
Okay.
And we've been talking about these 21st century leadership skills for a while, but now it's time to stop talking and start acting.
Yes, and with the pandemic, I'm just taking a bit of a segue here because this is not part of coaching, but how do you think the pandemic has influenced the definition of 21st century leadership skills?
So I think that, oh my goodness, we could talk about this all day, you and me.
We actually could. It could be a session or a podcast episode all in itself, for sure. Maybe we should do one.
Yeah, absolutely, anytime. So I think there are a couple of things that immediately spring to mind. My master's research is on wicked problems and how do we engage stakeholders to respond effectively to wicked problems. And boy, if ever we are sitting in the middle of a black swan / wicked problem context, it's right now, where literally everything is shifting for everybody in massive, massive ways. And so dealing with complexity, we knew that was an issue, but I think we're having to deal with way more complexities than we thought we would be having to deal with a year ago.
Yeah, on another level.
And we thought a year ago that it was going to be mostly focused on tech and fourth industrial revolution. We now realize that actually we can't forget about all of these other things, the people things and the health things and all of those. We've got to deal with all of them all at the same time in different ways. So I think
that's been brought right into the middle of our pot. So we thought technology was carrying us, and the truth is technology also carried us through this pandemic.
Yeah.
But now it's like, look at your people, look at your health, look at other things that,
Absolutely. Another very important thing in terms of leadership is the whole thing of influence. And how do we do that? Number one, authentically, which again, we've been talking this language for a really long time, but just for example, we're all suddenly in having to prove ourselves in different spaces to what we've been, where we've traditionally proven ourselves or where we already have a reputation. How do we as leaders now re-establish credibility in completely different context and environment to where we've always done it? I mean, you and I are in a similar industry. Everybody's online. And we were one of a select group of people that was already doing things online. Now suddenly everybody's there. How do we stand out? How do we differentiate ourselves and offer something different?
It's true.
So differentiation's huge.
Yeah.
So, and I think that's going to be at every level, individual, team, organizational level. Every Tom, Dick, and Harry is talking about remote leadership.
Exactly.
So what can we talk about that's not remote leadership? That's really interesting and useful. And then thinking skills for me is massive.
Okay, well,
thank you. We've never mastered.
Yeah. I know it's a huge topic. I shouldn't even ask the question because it was just way too big. It does, though. I loved what you said about reestablishing credibility in a different space, because it does bring to mind for me a client who really knew himself in the presentations that he gives when he's in front of a room, showing up and being there and, engaging the people. And he actually said to me, I can't do this presentation because it has to be on Zoom, so I'm just going to defer it. And I said, no, why don't you learn the skills of doing an engaging presentation on Zoom? So it really, it shook his foundation, a really, really competent, super smart leader, doing great things in the world. And he was like, no, I can't do this now. So very, very interesting. Anyway, back to the topic, right? So what would be a good outcome for you out of our conversation today? What would you like to walk away with?
I always come down to, some specific concrete action, preferably one I haven't thought of taking.
One you haven't thought of taking, or one you thought of taking and will actually do?
Both, but first prize would be something I haven't even thought of.
Okay.
But yeah, I mean, it could also very well be something that I do know and I should have done, but some accountability was always good. Okay. Yeah.
So it's some kind of action that will move you forward in terms of.
So I've been saying for a really long time, way too long, that I don't earn what I should be earning, because this may sound arrogant, but I know I'm very competent and I know that I have huge value to add. But I don't earn commensurate with my competence.
Okay, so I want to delve into that one a little bit.
Yeah.
And the question is, do you have a number to that, what you should be earning? Yes. You know what that number is?
I have a target for next year, yes.
Okay, are you happy to speak it out in this forum?
Quite happy to do that. So I would like my business to turn over 10 million Rand next year.
Okay, great. Okay.
With 100 million following quite soon there.
I'm with you, sister. You can do it. Right. 10 million next year.
Yes.
How far away are you from that goal?
Less than 20%.
Okay, great.
For this year.
So my question around that is, are you feeling that you're not charging enough for your services, or is it a matter of getting more services sold, more business on the books?
It's two things. It's not about charging. I don't think that's really the issue. Okay. It's about enough of the right services.
Tell me more about that.
So I'm definitely not selling enough, full stop.
Okay.
And secondly, when I do sell, I'm not selling high ticket items.
Okay.
Which is a very cheap way of putting it, but I would like to be selling really solid longer term kind of projects that impact a lot of people, not just one or two individual coachings and tiny little projects that are just a tiny piece of I want to work systemically.
So you know that whole vicious cycle of, I don't have time to market my bigger projects because I'm too busy selling the tiny little projects that are keeping me away from doing the bigger projects.
Correct. Yes. And all the other things that this year has required of us.
So what are you prepared to do? I mean, really, what price, or what are you prepared to give up? Or what are you prepared to say no to in order? Yeah.
That's the question you're not supposed to ask. So if I frame it slightly differently, what gets in the way is I'm busy with my master's. That is not helping. And this year there has been I was pretty geared for it at the beginning of the year. And I think that I had a very workable plan. COVID has shifted a lot. I had to change a lot of things in my own business, make sure that I had redefined my identity, all of those kind of things, which may sound like an excuse, but it was a reality. It had to happen. And it's been very good because it has helped me to clarify what's the one thing that I could sell that would open other doors.
Do you know what that one thing is that you could sell that would open other doors?
The Astute Leader Program.
The Astute Leader Program. Okay. So there is one, I just want to stop here for a moment because there's one road that you could take that we're not going to go down. I'm sure you might have done it, or you can take it for homework. And that is to take your 10 million, take your Astute Leader Program, create a spreadsheet. I love spreadsheets. Create a spreadsheet, say how many do I have to sell, what does it look like, blah, 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 and all that planning. We are not going down that route, right?
Cool.
We are going down the route of mindset, because that is where you're stuck, and it's not around the planning or the action or the doing, because I know you and I know you know how to do that. So what is holding you back in terms of your mindset? I'm going to ask that differently. What mindset are you holding onto that is not allowing you to go there?
So one of the mindsets, because there's more than one, I think, but one of them is there are other people who are doing similar things.
Okay.
They've got much bigger, bolder, more prominent brands. Why on earth, especially in a South African context, would anybody want to buy this solution from me, which is unlikely to be accredited, because I actually don't want to accredit it, because that will constrain what I can do with it. So that's the one thing. And having said that, it's already in development. It's happening. But I know that this is an issue deep down inside, is how do I go from being the person who coaches people individually in groups, does the odd team workshop, does some very cool culture work every once in a while, but nothing terribly expensive, high ticket. Why would they suddenly want to put 40 people into this program with me? And that is a challenge. I mean, I think they should, but that doesn't shift them.
So that's interesting, because when you are asking yourself that question, why should they? It's got no accreditation. There's so many other people doing this. You know what that sounds like? Really, it sounds like I'm just not good enough.
Yeah.
And you carrying this, like imagine, I don't know, if you've got a backpack or whatever, and you're carrying this backpack and it's full of I'm not good enough stuff. And you're going to a meeting or you're talking about what you do, and that's the backpack that you carry. How do you think it influences the results that you create or what you're able to generate?
It's got a huge impact. Interestingly enough, once I'm actually in front of people, it's not so bad.
You think it's not bad, but
I don't get out the door. I don't pick up the phone and make the appointment.
Right. Why? Because that backpack is on your back. That is holding you back. As long as you are saying it, and that's the mindset that you're in, that is the lens that you're looking at your experience through.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm conscious of it. I know that that's true.
Yeah.
And so I do. I mean, I sit and I go, okay, it's going to have to happen. It has to happen. So we're getting on with development. And having a really beautifully developed product is part of the confidence thing. And I'm not doing it alone for the first time ever.
Awesome.
I've got a team of people helping me with development.
Awesome.
And there are 3 other people primarily, but they're all showing up differently. So the one is just flying, absolutely amazing. Her stuff is ready. It's brilliant. And so it's no longer just about me. It's about, look at this amazing person who's also done this cool work. And then the second person is kind of getting there, and the third person's not getting there at all. So that's another whole practical issue.
Okay.
Because the more energy I have to put into other things, the less energy I have for sales and marketing. And that's the other really practical issue, is I have a limited number of hours in a day. And I'm just struggling to get to everything.
And when you have the limited number of hours in the day, where do you find that you're spending them relating to this program? Which is the part that you actually choose to spend time on?
So we're spending quite a lot of time on the development. We haven't done much on marketing yet, partly because I lost my marketing partner a couple of weeks ago, 2 months ago now. So I've had to bring in another person, get her on board, and all the rest of it. So that's just been a bit of a hiatus. But no, most of the effort is going into development.
Into the design and development.
Yeah.
Okay, so now I have just an interesting concept to play with maybe, but you described your team. You've got 3 or 4 people. One is doing beautiful work, and one is... it sounded like is getting on with it. Yeah. And one is not, like there's some issues around that.
Yeah.
It almost feels like that is a reflection, the external reality is a reflection of your internal reality. Because if you think about the mindset that you just spoke about, one is, okay, the little bit of time I'm going to spend on the stuff that I love, which is the design and development, and you're like racing ahead with that. One is like, okay, getting some things done along the way. And one is like, and sales and marketing, not going there. No, lost my partner, not good person in place, like all the stuff.
That's a really astute observation, Daphne.
Thank you. What do you want to do with it, with this astute observation?
I have to think about it. Yeah, that's really, really interesting. And I guess what might be helpful is equating. So what about this whole process fits into each of those categories? And yes, the design and development is generally moving ahead. We were hoping to launch by November. It's not going to happen. It'll be January.
Okay.
Definitely. So yeah, but it's happening and it's exciting and I really enjoy it and I love the meetings and really great. In the middle category, okay, the bottom one's also really easy. I'm not even looking at who can I actually go and concretely sell this thing to. It's not even on the radar yet.
Okay.
And what else is not? What else is stuck? What's kind of, maybe not to go to the middle one, we're starting to get the sort of brand positioning and we're starting to create some marketing material, etc., etc. That is starting to happen. Oh, and there's one very exciting thing, and that I have put feelers out for a very, very strong partnership. I'm going to just try because I know that this is going public. So
yeah.
there is potentially a really strong partner that they might help me get in the door. If they accept that this is a program that's really of value to their community, they would potentially market it, advocate for it, etc., etc. And I have already got an advert in there in a publication that they're putting out to their community. So that at least I have done.
I love
but
what you're
not
saying.
much more.
But actually, so again, just an observation, and you tell me where it kind of sticks or lands for you, is that the stuff that you don't like, which you know, I think we've gathered from this conversation is around the sales and the marketing of it.
Yeah.
You are either kind of relegating to some dark corner of your brain or the room or whatever it is, or hoping that this big partnership will come out, which is great. I think if the partnership comes out, it's an awesome thing.
Absolutely.
But here's something that I want to present to you or put forward to you, is that as long as a part of it is relegated to that dark corner of your room, it's going to be very difficult to push forward on this amazing opportunity. So, because I'm seeing two extremes here. It's either someone save me. I'm being a bit funny here, but it's like, someone save me, take it away from me, be the hero, like just save me from this space, or let's just tuck it away in a dark corner, get on with all the stuff that I love and not think about it anymore. And I'm feeling like you're sitting on these two extremes.
Yes.
And just from my experience also working with people, is that that's never a healthy place. Firstly, because if one doesn't, you know, if the big savior thing doesn't work, you landed up with a dark corner. Yes. And also because as long as you're holding to this dark corner, doesn't have a great impact on the other side, which is the hero. So it's about really bringing both together. And the way that I see that happening is by you stepping up onto the plate of, you don't have to love sales and marketing, but I take it on. I'm going to take it on as an astute leader. What does an astute leader do with the areas that the astute leader is not good at or doesn't want to do, or is not passionate about? What does the astute leader do? Does he relinquish ownership? Because in my opinion, both those extremes are relinquishing ownership in a way. I know you're driving the relationship and I'm taking it a bit to an extreme, but there's something in there that is being...
Daphne, there is a 13-year history of exactly what you're saying. So don't worry, I'm better now than I was then, but it has been a long-term pattern. So there's no problem there. Yeah.
Okay. So for me, then the question is, how do you step up and take responsibility and ownership of this area that you don't maybe enjoy, but put yourself right in the middle of it? Put yourself, exactly as I said, what does an astute leader do in an area that they might not be expert on, or they might not fall into their strengths?
So one of the things is to just take action. Surprise, surprise. And again, I'm kidding myself if I say that things have shifted.
Okay.
I used to rely on a particular way of getting business, and that was around giving certain things to very strategic people in strategic positions who potentially could give me more business with no obligation to them. And many of them ultimately would give me business, but months down the road. Mm-hmm. So it's a very slow process. It's very comfortable. It's very easy. And with the current context, that has been more difficult, but it's not. Sure. It's an excuse to say that it's impossible because it's rubbish. Right. It is absolute rubbish. My intention.
Never before has there been a time where astute leadership is even more needed, you know. So, and I think there are companies that are recognizing that for sure.
Correct. So I've already made a commitment earlier today to sending 5 emails tomorrow to very specific people, telling them that I want to talk to them about this.
Okay, great.
And I've never really done that before.
Okay.
I have always got business by, kind of almost in the back door, by being a nice person, by being a showing up kind of person, by being a
good at what you do,
knowledgeable
getting
person.
well known. And let's not knock those things. They are very important. But I think this requires another level of stepping up, because you're talking about a 10 million high impact program. But I want to ask you something, because you've set this task for you already. You set this task before we spoke.
Yes.
And you wanted a new action. So how do we
Yes.
change this action to integrate what we've just spoken about, which is a mindset of ownership? Because a leader stepping into owning something that they may not actually do. How can you own it more without hating it?
It definitely has to still tap into my natural way of being, which is connecting with people on a very genuine, very authentic basis that is personal and meaningful. So yeah, I've been doing lots of social media and email marketing and all that. You know what? It doesn't generate any business because it's not authentic for me. So actually, I have to go back to what has worked in the past. Well, I think I need to go back to what has worked in the past. And I need to do exactly what I've always done with other people, which is to say, I want to spend some time coaching you as a gift so that we can build a connection and a relationship. There's no expectations, there's nothing. But I know that if I picked 5 or 10 people to do that with, I would potentially build, because it doesn't have to happen tomorrow. We're only going to launch this program next year.
And Janet, I want to stop there for a moment because I don't think you have to do what you've always done before in the past. I think you can do the new, upgraded, better version of this.
Okay.
So I think your strength is the coaching, the relationship, the one by one. You know, when you want to sell a big program, it's one conversation at a time.
Yeah.
But what's this whole thing about no expectations?
Oh, yes. So, well, that is based on my belief in being generous and not, it's partly related to I don't actually want anybody to ever feel like I'm trying to sell to them and that I'm trying to force them into a corner.
There's your mindset coming up again. I'm not good enough. I'm not enough. Do you stand by what you are selling? And how would it be? Is it not? So you actually brought in like the 21st century leadership skills that we actually spoke about was finding your credibility in a new space. And you're saying, how do you find your credibility in a new space? Don't go back to old patterns. Well, let me just give you everything for free so that you'll like me and then give me something in return. No. Be real about it. Be authentic. Listen, I'm doing this program. I want to show you how damn good I am. And I want you to experience a coaching session with me. After that, we can discuss how we work together. If you decide to or not, that's up to you. No pressure. But be authentic in your reason for engaging. Yeah.
No, that's a good point. That is a good point.
And then
so I kind of do that, but I'm not that direct. There is no doubt about it. I'm not always very direct in terms of saying, this is what I want to do. This is what I want to sell. So I don't even get to the point where people are saying they have objections. I don't give them that chance.
Objections to what?
To the product, to the solution, to the anything. I don't give them that option. Yeah. And it's got to shift. It has to.
Okay.
For two reasons.
Go.
So it's got to shift because there's no point in continuing to run a business that doesn't make decent money. And there's no point. And also people really need this program. People need to become really astute leaders. It's never been more important. Never, never, never.
So Janet, I want you, when we get this podcast out and you listen to the recording, you actually have to listen to the difference in your voice when you talk about the stuff that you are totally convinced of and totally passionate about. And then when you talk about the other stuff like the sales and marketing, you go, well, we have to, and there's like, I know I have to do it. And this is what I'm saying. I'm saying you have to step into the sales and marketing and every aspect of this program with the same passion as you do when you say everybody needs it. We need this now. I believe in my product. And when you offering a coaching session so someone can get to experience you go, I'm offering a coaching session because I've got a really hot product that I want to share with you afterwards. So I'm giving you an opportunity to learn and grow for yourself and achieve something for yourself, but I'm also wanting a bit of your time afterwards to discuss how we can take this forward, because I believe you could be the right partner for me, or there is potential here, and be upfront about it. And then set it up like that. And then you step into it with conviction and passion and energy. I mean, I even wonder, when you're sitting in a coaching session with someone, knowing that the moment is going to come up when it comes to the end, and it's like, and what are you going to do? And what happens to your energy then?
Oh! No, I get quiet, and I get uncertain is a really key word, because I do, and I sort of, I'm usually very direct. You know me. You've known me for a really long time. When I'm
certain,
I don't want to use the word in control, because that's not it. But when I am certain, I can be very direct. I can do that in a really nice way, but I'm direct. And I lose that as soon as I think I've got to try and sell something.
Okay. So has anything changed for you from this conversation?
That analogy of the dark and the light, that really, really useful, because I've got a living example that I can reflect on as that's playing itself out.
Yeah.
So I need to figure out, how am I coaching that third person in my team? And one of the options is to let her off the hook. I can't let myself off this hook.
Yeah.
That's not an option. I think I have been.
Yeah, I think you have been.
And so there's some really useful thinking around. So the temptation to let her off the hook as well, and how I deal with her not being fully engaged is also really interesting. So thank you for that. And what you said about the energy and the shifts. I have to somehow get excited about selling. And I am going to have to think more about that. Around how do I mean, there's nothing better than results to make you excited.
Right. So there's a lot of thinking that I'm hearing you want to do. What's the action?
The action. The action. I'm going to identify 3 people to connect with in the next 3 weeks, to at least have a preliminary conversation around what we're offering. Even if at this stage it's just exploratory. Just to say, what are you looking for? What do you want? And that will open the door to say, this is what I'm working on. This is what we're going to be offering. How might we take this forward? I could do that.
Awesome. I can hear that you can do that. What makes that feel less like a sales conversation?
The exploration. The fact that it's, and it feels authentic at this moment, because the program's not ready yet. Okay. So I don't feel like I'm saying, I've got this and we can say it. And if they say to me, well, next week, let's go, I'll make it happen if they say that. But that feels authentic in terms of the process. And I could comfortably have that conversation with 3 people.
So there's something in the exploration, the co-creation, the questioning, and okay.
I like that co-creation bit as well.
Okay. So how about, I'm just suggesting replacing the word sales in your mind with co-creation, because when you make a sale, don't you co-create something? Absolutely.
And that for me is easy. Really, really easy. So this potential partner that I'm talking about, that is exactly what's happened.
Right.
So we were involved together in a project. It's her project. I picked up some challenges within the context. I went to her and I said, I feel I really need to give you this feedback. We had a really positive conversation. And I said, I think that this could be a useful addition. conversations moving forward. That was easy. It's a relationship that is already constructive and really good. And and it was exactly that. It was, can we build something together that's going to make your solution more effective?
Awesome.
And put money in both of our pockets.
Fantastic. So how are you going to air out that dark corner of the room that you have relegated everything else to?
I just think in some ways, I actually think I just need to go. I'm not even trying to do that. Because if I keep trying to do that, it's never, ever going to be a joyful experience.
Great.
How can I take this task, I don't even like the word task. How do I take this need, I don't know, I'll think of the right word. And how do I move it into this space that is co-creative, that is challenging, mentally stimulating?
So I actually think it's not about trying to play with that corner. It's actually just getting rid of the corner. It doesn't need to be there anymore. It's like, make it a circular room.
Yeah.
A circle.
Yeah. Just switch all the lights on.
Yeah, switch on the lights. I mean, okay. Switch on the lights. Expose it. Talk about it. Air it.
And in some ways, there's never been a better time for that, because never, I don't think in the past, has the world been more vulnerable, which means if we have solutions, number one, we owe it to people, but number two, everybody's floundering right now. Nobody's been here before. Nobody has written the book. There are plenty of books that might be helpful, but nobody has written the book on what happens in your business tomorrow with your people. So I'm a navigator. That's what I do.
Exactly.
And I need to show up in that way for myself and for other people.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
That's brilliant. I love that.
That was helpful. Thank you.
Good.
I mean, I'm saying like that, I'm surprised. Of course I'm not surprised. This has been so amazing. I'm so privileged to have time with you.
Pleasure. Yeah, for me too. It's always a privilege. Janet, tell me, what is one takeaway from today? What is your insight? Whatever, you get to choose. What is the one thing that you want to say before we complete the session?
I want sales and marketing to be fun. How can I make it fun?
Yes.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah. I think that's really helpful.
Okay.
Very cool.
Thank you. Thanks for joining me.
It's been stunning. Keep well.
This wraps up another episode of Leadership Live. Thank you for joining us today. And now let's continue the conversation. Do you have any questions, comments, or suggestions? Connect with me on LinkedIn or head on to my website at daphnahorovitz.com, where you can download a free sample of my new book, Weekly Habits for Extraordinary Leaders. If you enjoyed this episode, be sure to share it with a friend so that I can continue to reach and support leaders just like you. So tune in next week to Leadership Live, where talented people become extraordinary leaders.